Today's Pledge of Allegiance is by Emma Albertoni, Angela Smith, Sydney Machado, and they are from the Girl Scout, and they're Girl Scout Gold Award recipients from Denver, Colorado, and their guests of Representative Winter.
Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Randall, please call the roll.
Representatives Arndt, Becker J, Becker K, oh, good morning, Beckman, Benavides, Representative Benavides,
Excused.
Bridges, Buck, Buckner, Carver, Catlin, Coleman. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Representative Benavides is present. Covarrubias, Danielson, morning. Escar, morning. Everett, Exum, Exum,
Excused.
Foot, Garnett, Janal. Oh, thank you. Gray, Hamner, Hanson, Hanson,
Excused.
Herod. Putin. Humphrey. Jackson. Kennedy. Representative Kennedy.
Excused.
Kraft Tharp. Landgraf. Lawrence. Lebsock. Lee. Oh, thank you. Leonard. Lewis. Liston. Lontine. Lundeen. McKean. McLaughlin. Melton. Michelson Janae. Mitch Push. Navarro. Neville. Nordberg. I'm here. Gotcha. Representative Hansen is present. Pabon. Pedersen. Representative Pedersen.
Excused.
Rankin. Ransom. Rosenthal. Sane. Salazar. Sias. Singer. Representative Singer.
Excused.
Thurlow. Valdez. Van Winkle. Weissman. Willett. Williams. Wilson. Winter. Wist. Young. Representative Young. Oh, thank you. Madam Speaker.
Present.
So I have Exum, Kennedy, Pedersen, Connor, I'm here. I got you. Here. It just wasn't loud. I look forward to it every day. I look forward to it every day. How are you? Yeah, I was dealing with cold all weekend. I got this sort of stuff. I got this like throat numbing stuff that I just used, so I'm all nervous I'm about to start drooling or something. Just so I can.
I went to see some singer in the years. Anyway, he was spraying his throat. But Aiden took the girl out for like the third or fourth date. So his first date, did I tell you what happened? So he goes to Christian Bale. In fact, he tells her his friend. So anyway, and then he came and told her that he loved her. First date. And so he comes downstairs and watches TV. He said, what's that? So, no, first girlfriend ever. So I'm like, all right. So have you talked to her? Have you talked to her? So she said, yeah. So I said, all right, here's what you do. Send her a text and tell her, my dad says that he and me are kind of lifting the trigger. and so he did, and she sends back and she goes, oh my God, thank God. Excellent. Tell her there was on this day.
I see you found me, but I don't ever remember saying you were here. I apologize.
Oh, good. Thank you.
It's Monday all day for me. Sorry.
That's good. Oh, thank you.
All right, with 62 present and 3 excused, we have a quorum. Representative McKean. Good morning. You have a little journal for us.
Good
to
morning.
approve.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So anytime you take this on, you realize that you may be trying to outdo someone. I would never do that. But there once was a rep from the Springs who was tired of reading the journal and taking his dings. But he had a good time doing his duties in rhyme. Now he could do more important things. Madam Speaker, I move that the reading of the journal of Friday, April 7, 2017 be dispensed with and approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk.
This is starting to become a tradition. All right, with that, members who are in support of Representative McKean's motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by saying no. Oh, the motion passes. Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today at noon is the Veterans Caucus. For all of you people who are paying attention, believe it or not, somebody asked me a question and I said, I announced it in the well, and they said, we never listen. So let's make an exception to that. Pay attention. Today, noon, in the basement, Veterans Caucus. It's going to be a great agenda, so please be there.
Thank you. Representative Lundeen is who I saw next.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, we are fortunate to have in the House with us today a number of students, 15 students who are students of advanced placement, U.S. government and politics. So they know all about this process and the federal process as well. They are hosted by their instructor, Bob Frick. If Bob Frick's standing there now, if the students would all like to stand, they're from the Classical Academy, which is, I think, the largest charter school in Colorado. Welcome. We're glad you're here today. You get to watch a little bit of the sausage making of the reality of legislation and politics today, so please enjoy and learn. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for joining us. Representative Rosenthal is who I saw next.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's an honor and a pleasure to serve with you.
Honor and a pleasure to serve with you, too.
Thank you. So members, just another notification. So Wednesday morning from 7:30 until 9, there is the Refugee 101, which the focus this year will be on the vetting process for refugees coming to the United States. So there's going to be a breakfast outside the Old Supreme Court chamber. Absolutely everybody is welcome. Aides, interns, legislators, staff from the Capitol. Everybody is welcome to come right outside the Old Supreme Court chamber. And then from 9 to 10, so obviously we'll be in the chamber, but your aides and interns are welcome to stick around for a presentation from various nonprofits. So you'll have the opportunity to meet some people who are refugees who are now integrated into our society successfully, and you'll have an opportunity to speak with them about their experiences. So again, this Wednesday morning, 7:30 to 9, breakfast at the Old Supreme Court chamber. Thank you very much.
Wednesday morning, 7:30 to 9. That sounds like a great event. I think I'm going to move some things around so I can be there. Representative Winter.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, today with us, we have some Gold Award Girl Scouts with us. If the Girl Scouts could all stand up, please.
All right.
The Gold Award is the highest honor that you can earn in Girl Scouting. You have to be in 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th grade. You have to be a senior ambassador and completed 2 senior or ambassador journeys. So they have done an incredible amount of work. Only 5.4% of eligible Girl Scouts earn this award. So let's thank them for their dedication to their community and their hard work. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for joining us at the Capitol, and congratulations. Further announcements and introductions. Representative Lawrence.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I just want to announce that tomorrow morning COGA LEAD has a breakfast informational meeting about what you need to know about local communities and oil and gas development. It will be with Ann Cardo, Community Outreach Manager for COGA, Ashley Campbell, Greg Darren Lowe, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that name, and Dave Coleman, and it'll be at 7:30 at the First Baptist Church. This is a great informational meeting, give and take. You can ask questions, be a good presentation. I hope you'll show up for that.
Further announcements or introductions? Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, how many of you enjoyed the hours we had last week? Not a lot of fun, right? Well, tomorrow morning we've got Bible study, we've got a prayer time, so as things really ramp up here for the last 4 weeks, you might need the prayers of the prayer caucus, so come on down tomorrow morning, 7:15, downstairs 109.
Representative Sias, good morning.
Good morning, Madam Speaker, and thank you very much. And members, for anyone in this chamber who would doubt that we have a sense of humor here in this chamber, I would invite you to pay a visit to my office over in across the street and have a look at what Representative Wilson and my aide have done to improve the barren desert that once was the walls of my office. That's all I'll say, but you can all come over and have a nice little laugh at my expense. I invite you to partake of that.
Further announcements and introductions? Further announcements and introductions. Seeing no further announcements or introductions, the next order of business, oh yes, we actually, right before we do that, we do have a report from the Delayed Bill Committee.
Memorandum report from the Senate and House Committees on Delayed Bills. Pursuant to Joint Rule 23C, the Senate and House Committees on Delayed Bills acting jointly extend the following deadlines. The Friday, April 7th deadline, 87th legislative day for passage of the long appropriation bill in the House, is extended until Monday, April 10th, 2017, the 90th legislative day. This memorandum shall be printed in the Journal of each House as required by Joint Rule 23C.
Third reading of bills, final passage. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 255.
Senate Bill 255 by Senator Lambert, House Representative Rankin, concerning the creation of the Technology Advancement and Emergency Fund in the Office of Information Technology and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. What you've all been waiting for. The long bill. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 255 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 255 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no discussion, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Sias. Please close the machine. With 39 yes votes, 25 no votes, 1 excuse, Senate Bill 255 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 257.
Senate Bill 257 by Senator Moreno, House Representative Rankin, concerning the creation of the Community Museums Cash Fund for the administration of revenues generated by community museums operated by the State Historical Society and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 257 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is a passage of Senate Bill 257 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no discussion, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Young. Please close the machine. With 50 yes votes, 14 no votes, and 1 excuse, Senate Bill 257 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 258.
Senate Bill 258 by Senator Lundberg, also Representative Rankin, concerning the use of open educational resources in public institutions of higher education in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Assistant Majority Leader Gurnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 258 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is a passage of Senate Bill 258 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no discussion, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 59 yes votes, 5 no votes, and 1 excused, Senate Bill 258 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 259.
Senate Bill 259 by Senator Lundberg, also Representative Rankin, concerning a transfer of money from the general fund to cash funds administered by the state departments for the protection of the state's natural resources.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 259 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is a passage of Senate Bill 259 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no discussion, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Fontaine, please close machine. With 63 yes votes, 1 no vote, and 1 excuse, Senate Bill 259 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title. Oh, Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to lay over Senate Bill 260, 6 bills, till after Senate Bill 254.
Seeing no objections, Senate Bill 260 will be laid over 6 bills. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 261.
Senate Bill 261 by Senator Lundberg, also Representative Young, concerning the creation of the 2013 Flood Recovery Account in the Disaster Emergency Fund.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 261 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is a passage of Senate Bill 261 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no discussion, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 64 yes votes, 0 no votes, and 1 excuse, Senate Bill 261 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Representative Pedersen is present. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 263.
Senate Bill 263 by Senator Lambert, also Representative Hamner, concerning capital-related transfers of money.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 263 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is a passage of Senate Bill 263 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no discussion, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 56 yes votes, 9 no votes, Senate Bill 263 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 264.
Senate Bill 264 by Senator Moreno, also Representative Young, concerning funding sources related to services for behavioral or mental health disorders.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 264 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is a passage of Senate Bill 264 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no discussion, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 47 yes votes, 18 no votes, Senate Bill 264 is passed. Co-sponsors.
Nice gavel by them. Also.
Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 265.
Senate Bill 265 by Senator Lambert, also Representative Hamner, concerning a transfer of money from the State Employee Reserve Fund to the General Fund.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 265 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is a passage of Senate Bill 265 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 39 yes votes, 26 no votes, Senate Bill 265 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 266.
Senate Bill 266 by Senator Lambert, also Representative Hamner, concerning a reduction in the amount of general fund reserve required for the fiscal year 2016-17.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 266 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 266 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no discussion, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Salazar. Please close the machine. With 38 yes votes, 27 no votes, Senate Bill 266 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 254, the long bill.
Senate Bill 254 by Senator Lambert, also Representative Hamner, concerning the provision for payment of the expenses of the executive, legislative, and judicial departments of the state of Colorado and of its agencies and institutions for and during the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2017, except as otherwise noted.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 254 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is a passage of Senate Bill 254 on third reading and final passage. I think a little discussion's coming. Representative Hamner.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. This is the long bill. And very pleased to bring this bill forward. It's even better today than it was when it first came over to the House because all of you had a chance to debate it and amend it and have good conversations about it here in the well for a long time. I'm glad to see my colleagues from the Budget Committee down here with me. We are very pleased that we have a bipartisan bill for you to vote on today. It was not easy work, I will admit that. Colorado was faced with enormous challenges in developing a balanced budget. We, on top of being very close to our Tabor cap as we developed this budget, we also felt the impact of the Gallagher Amendment on some of our local revenues, in particular impacting our school funding, putting an extra burden on the state share to fund our schools coming into this budget year. But despite those overwhelming odds, we have 6 members of the Budget Committee, 3 senators, 3 representatives, equal representation from each party, voting unanimously to bring this bill to you. The bill doesn't make some of the cuts that the governor had proposed and thought that we would need to make in balancing this budget. For example, we didn't have to take some of the best program funding to balance this budget. We didn't have to reduce funding in the senior property tax program to balance this budget. We didn't have to increase the negative factor to the rate that we thought we would have to in order to balance this budget. On the positive side, we have been able to invest in our K-12 education system with $185 more per student. In this budget, we were able to fully fund the list of projects that the Capital Development Committee and the Joint Technology Committees brought forward to us. We were able to provide a modest increase in salaries to our hardworking state employees, who, by the way, received no increase last year. So we still have a lot of work to do, however, in this legislative session to really make this budget work. We need to figure out how to reinvest in our hospitals, particularly our rural hospitals. We need to figure out how to provide more funding and more resources for our critical infrastructure needs, particularly in the way of transportation. And we need to continue to work together to figure out how to better fund our public schools. But having said that, I'm very proud of the work that we've accomplished as a budget committee with all of the input that you've been able to provide us, and I hope to have your support on this bill. Thank you.
Representative Rankin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I won't go through some of the details. I really want to take just a moment to thank Vice Chair Hamner and Representative Young and the senators that we've worked with. This is, I'll remind you, very much a bipartisan committee by the fact of our two houses being balanced between the Senate and the House. We do our best to represent that balanced approach. We work hard from November forward. A special thanks to the staff, 13 members. Many of you have had direct interaction with joint budget staff, and you know how wonderful they are and how much they really care about their jobs. And to Director Ziegler, I believe his 23rd budget, as I recall. So, you know, we have great guidance and history of what's going on. You know, not everybody is happy with the budget. Certainly the education community, and where it talks about the negative factor, the many providers that we have contract services with throughout the state are, I believe, underpaid relative to comparable rates for healthcare providers under Medicare and private services. Our Medicaid providers dramatically underpaid. We have tried to fix some of those problems. People line up over there, lobbyists and departments telling us how much more money they need, and so by the end of the year you feel like everybody is underpaid and under budgeted. And yet my caucus believes strongly that there's extra money to fund transportation bonding, and we continue to push that and will do so. So there's certainly unrest on the budget, but it's a good budget given all of those concerns. It's very bipartisan, and I want to urge the minority members in this chamber that it really is okay to vote for the budget. So thank you very much for the opportunity to represent you, and vote yes.
Representative Young.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I don't want to reiterate what Representative Hamner and Representative Rankin have already said, but just to thank Representative Hamner and also Senator Lambert for their leadership on the Joint Budget Committee. You've heard how bipartisan it is and how much time we spend together really combing through deeply this budget. And you know, before I was on the Joint Budget Committee, I was sitting in the House just like all the rest of you and trying to dig into that budget. And it's a daunting task as a member to do that. So I appreciate the hard work that you did last week. Really thoughtful amendments, trying to really dig into the budget. Just know that we started with a budget that was $500 million in the hole. $500 million in the hole. And through that leadership and through the three of us working together with our three senators, managed to find a pathway through that. As Representative Hamner said, that work is not yet finished. There is more work that we need to do. So many of you have stepped forward on both sides of the aisle to really figure out how can we get to the end of this session with a balanced budget. I want to call out a couple of areas that really are needing some attention. Certainly we've talked about K-12, but I want to highlight higher ed. And there was a lot of conversation about, you know, can we cut there? We're 49th in the nation in state support of higher ed. And when we cut higher ed, we basically cost shift to our families and students higher tuition rates. And so when we talk about across the board cuts, sometimes it's easy to say, but when you really dive into these areas of the budget and try to figure out what can we do in a thoughtful way to just squeeze another penny, find a little change in the couch cushions, I challenge you all to really take a step back and comb through the tens of thousands of documents, pages of documents that your 3 Joint Budget Committee members have, along with the great support of our staff, really done since November to try to find those places where we can squeeze a little bit more out and put it where our priorities stand. I hope that there's a way that all of you will find a way to find that piece of the budget that really makes sense for your constituents, and that you will return a yes vote on this budget. Thank you.
Minority Leader Neville.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And members, I want to start off by giving a thanks to all the members of the JBC. I do understand that this takes an incredible amount of work. I specifically want to thank Representative Rankin. Representative Rankin, since November, I've had the opportunity to experience what it's like to balance the concerns of 27 other members in your caucus, and I know it's not easy. So thank you for your hard work. Members, no doubt we had a lengthy debate on this, and rightfully so, as it is the largest budget in the history of Colorado. Given that, though, I do have some concerns, some lingering concerns, because without the passage of some of the other companion orbital bills, not only is this the largest budget in the history of Colorado, it also isn't balanced without the passage of those bills. So passing the largest record-setting budget that isn't balanced, to me, sounds certainly a lot like Washington-style politics. Through the debate, Republicans ran amendments that would have aggregated over $600 million additional transportation funding to our budget. $600 million without raising taxes. That's pretty significant. And I think that we all said at the beginning of the session that transportation would be our top priority, and I think we should show it as a top priority in our budget. The fact of the matter is, if you just freeze the growth of all departments except education, that would be $314 million in transportation money in addition to the $80 million we have here. This would solve our state's problems. This would allow that family commuting to take their kids to school and then continue on to work, save them time and money, and have a real impact on the economy in our state. But unfortunately, as the budget's currently written, we only have $79 million going to transportation. Meanwhile, we let all of the departments continue to grow on autopilot. We can't continue to let these departments grow on autopilot year after year. If we do, we will end up with the same problems we have in Washington, and we will continue to have to ask the taxpayers to pay more. I, for one, won't let that stand. And for that reason, I urge a no vote on this budget. Thank you.
Assistant Minority Leader West.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Well, it's nice to start off Monday morning with some good news. The Denver Pioneers are national champions. But we also have some bad news, and we're about to pass the largest budget in Colorado history. Members, the empire building in our state government marches on. Our state government is growing, not shrinking. When will we as a body start to reform the way that we spend money? Tonight, millions of fellow Coloradans will sit around dinner tables and talk about balancing budgets. They'll talk about making sure that they are not outspending their income. They will make sure that they're not out buying things that they cannot afford, and they will make sure that they're not out doing their own version of empire building within their families. So members, we've got to have a hard conversation about whether or not we're finding the waste that we all know that exists in this budget. My deep appreciation to Representative Rankin for his leadership in our caucus, for his continued voice for fiscal reform. My thanks to Representative Hamner, Representative Young, for your very, very hard work on this budget. I will be a no vote today because it is time. It is time for us to stop empire building in our state government. I hope that we will begin to have that conversation, and I thank you all for your time.
Representative Thurlow.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, members. And I just wanted to congratulate again Representative Rankin and Young and Hamner for all the hard work that they have put into the budget. I understand that that is a very time-consuming and intensive job, and they do it well. What I would like to ask the body and ask the Joint Budget Committee is, next year, why don't we think about doing it differently? You know, we've had talk about how we comb through the couch cushions and we try to find pennies here and we try to find pennies there, and I think we all do a good job of that. But as leaders of the organization, certainly all of us are responsible for this, and I think the JBC is responsible for asking sometimes, are we doing it the right way? I was interested in Representative Hamner's talk about how we are balancing the budget this year. She started off by saying we're close to the Tabor limit. Well, the actual fact is we're at this point over the Tabor limit by about $264 million, except for the bill, I believe it's Senate Bill 256, that we haven't passed yet, that is going to do something that I'm just in awe of. It's going to take away the $264 million of Tabor rebates without asking the taxpayers at all. And secondly, it is going to take away $264 million from our hospitals. Now that is a double whammy negative to everybody in this state, and we're only doing it because we have a process set up that is not working. The second thing she mentioned was the Gallagher Amendment, and it is causing disruption in the state budget to the tune of, I believe the number is somewhere around $150 million. And that's being mandated by a process that I think most people, when I tried to run my Tabor bill, I had an awful lot of people saying, why aren't you attacking Gallagher? It's a big problem. Well, I think it is a big problem, and we should attack the big problems. The next bill that we're about to pass, I think this morning, is the severance tax bill, which takes away $45 million of severance tax from the places where the mineral's being severed and puts it into the general fund. Those are all systemic problems with what we are doing. So that's what I would like to ask the members and the JBC. If you add up those numbers, the 264, the 150, and the 45 million, you will find there's $400 to $500 million out there that we are just moving around in really bizarre ways, turning down some of it, having to backfill the local share from our budget. Those are systemic problems in our process that we should be addressing as leaders of the body. So again, thank you very much for the work that you all do. I know it's time consuming, I know it's hard, and I think we should all think about doing it in a different way, trying to solve actual problems next year when we address the budget. Thank you.
Representative Everett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So this is my fifth budget, and when I came in 2013, the budget was a little bit over $21 billion. Now we're pushing $27 billion. Every year, the budget grows and grows and grows, and we hear that we don't have enough money. But I'm sure when you are in your districts and you're hearing about where our funding priorities are, you hear things like transportation. We need to fund transportation. Well, the budget's grown exponentially, but we're still not funding transportation. We hear about education. Again, the budget's growing. We can't fund our basic needs, education. And then also, for those of you that do live outside the Denver-Boulder corridor, make sure rural Colorado is also taken care of. Make sure they're not ignored because they are underrepresented here. And this budget does not address any of the needs of rural Colorado. In fact, they are probably taking the biggest, most impactful hit in this budget. As a moral document, this is something that we just cannot pass today. This does not meet the needs of average Coloradans. This does not meet the same standard that all Coloradans do in their family budget every day. I urge you no vote. Thank you.
Representative Hamner.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And colleagues, thank you so much for your comments here today. This is really a difficult time for us in Colorado, and I recognize and just want to acknowledge the fact that there are a couple critical pieces of the budget that we are holding on to for a little bit longer. Remember, we still have about 30 some days to do some critical work here in the legislature. And there are 3 critical pieces of legislation currently in the process that will make this budget better. And one of those pieces of legislation will relook at the hospital provider fee as an enterprise and allow us to reinvest in our hospitals. Another critical piece of legislation that passed with bipartisan support here in the House, House Bill 1242, would allow us the opportunity to ask the voters of Colorado if they're willing to invest in a dedicated source of funding for our critical transportation projects. And we have yet to receive the school finance bill from the Senate, which will hopefully provide us an opportunity to invest more in our K-12 system. So I just want to, again, acknowledge the fact that today we're voting on this budget, that we still have time to continue to work. The Budget Committee will need to meet in a conference committee to deal with the differences between the Senate version and the House version. But for today, I ask for your support of this critical work in progress. Thank you very much.
Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker Pro Tem. And members, I want to thank all of you for the meaningful and thoughtful debate that we had on the long bill, and especially our Joint Budget Committee members. There is a tireless amount of time that goes in from Representative Rankin, Representative Hamner, and Representative Young, trying to do everything we can to invest in all parts of Colorado. And I think this year in particular, it's been challenging to try and balance how do we protect those who are most vulnerable to be able to have access to health care. How do we work to make sure that every boy and girl in the state of Colorado has the opportunity to be able to reach their full potential? And how do we protect our rural hospitals? And all 6 members of the Joint Budget Committee have worked diligently, and we want to thank you for that. I also want to thank our incredible Joint Budget Committee staff, Director Ziegler and his entire team for all of the time and effort, especially when we had so many different amendments coming forward to be debated. As usual, you do an exceptional job. And we do have a couple of bills that are looming that Representative Hamner mentioned. One that would have drastic cuts to our rural hospitals, and another bill that we still need to determine what the details should be as it relates to transportation. And the good news is that even though we are not at the final point of balancing the budget, we do have time in this session, and in fact, it's early. But enough time to pass what we need to. And what I would say is that we have a real opportunity. We have a real opportunity in front of us to have a positive impact on every Coloradan. We have an opportunity to be able to problem solve and put problem solving as a priority to ensure that we invest in our rural hospitals and that we come up with this bipartisan statewide plan to be able to invest in transportation. And it is my hope that we will reject Washington, D.C. style politics that can be based on political ideology alone, and instead put Coloradans first, to problem solve for all, to continue the good bipartisan work that we have done this session to come up with a statewide transportation plan that invests in every single community, to continue the good work, the bipartisan work, to turn the hospital provider fee into an enterprise so that we can invest in our rural hospitals. And the only thing that I would ask is to vote in favor of this today, but also as we continue the conversation this session, that regardless of whether somebody has an R or D next to their name, that we think about the patients who need access to rural services, that we think about all the growth that we've had to Colorado and how we make sure quality of life is going to be just as good as it has been for many of us for the next generation. And that we come up with a statewide transportation system that invests in every single community. I ask for your support. Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is a passage of Senate Bill 254. On third reading and final passage, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 38 yes votes, 27 no votes, Senate Bill 254 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. That brings us back to Senate Bill 260. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 260.
Senate Bill 260 by Senator Lambert, also Representative Hamner, concerning transfers to the general fund from cash funds with severance tax revenues.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 260 on third reading and final passage.
Representative Jay Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, this is my fifth budget as well, that we get to sit through and watch how we transfer money and move money around, and how do we balance that budget? And I believe me, I understand what the Joint Budget Committee is going through, but we talk about $45 million moving out of severance taxes again. $45 million. And odd enough, we just voted for a bill that moved $10 million back into programs for general fund. We obviously know what this money does. We know what this money means to the state of Colorado. Why do we keep moving it out and then wondering why there's no money in Tier 2 programs, or why there's no money to build infrastructure in affected communities by oil and gas extraction? Everybody says, well, we have to pay for the lawsuit that went through, and severance tax owes those dollars. Well, severance taxes have paid over $400 million back into general fund, and now will be $448 million if we do this, $445 million moved from this fund into general fund to do things other than what that money was supposed to do. Help affected communities. Keep programs open like the aquatic nuisance that you just passed. If these are so important and we need these programs, why do we continue to move these dollars and call it balancing? It's not needed. Tier 2 programs are important. In fact, all the programs that are dealing with these severance tax dollars are important to all of us. They help your local communities. Call your commissioners. Talk to a DOLA representative as to where these dollars go and how they help your communities and how they help the state of Colorado. Every time we move these dollars, we hurt the infrastructure even more in the state of Colorado. But yet we continue to do it to the tune of $400 million. And then we come back and ask for money for these projects later and try to move that money out of general fund. That's just bad budgeting at this point. It's time to be responsible. It's time to keep these dollars in the programs that they were meant for and that we legislated they would go. Past legislators set that so that we could help communities, so that we can take care of this state. How many of you are worried about the lakes in this state and making sure that we have clean water? I think everybody in this room would agree to that. Well, that's what this dollars do. It's time to do the responsible thing and keep these dollars where they're supposed to. I appreciate that the Joint Budget Committee cut down the amount that they took from this area, but taking any at this point is way too much. I'd ask for a no vote.
Representative Everett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Again, so here we are, we're stealing from rural Colorado to shore up our budget. There's no guardrails over where we're going to spend this money. It's just going into the general fund, and we're not saying, hey, let's spend it on transportation. Hey, let's actually make sure it gets back to rural Colorado, making sure that rural hospitals are funded. Let's say, hey, this should go into education. So again, we heard about Washington-style politics. This is exactly what they do. They steal from Peter to pay Paul. But unfortunately, it's more than Paul that's getting paid. It's being spread throughout the budget just to true it up. And again, once again, for the 5th straight year, the budget has gone up. But still, we cannot fund our needs. I think this is an opportunity for us to say this is exactly where this money is being spent. However, it's just going to the general fund, which is generally a slush fund. So I urge a no vote on this, and I say we need to protect rural Colorado, and we need to fund transportation, and we need to fund education. Thank you.
Representative Hamner.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, colleagues, for your comments on this bill. And I agree that there are critical projects that are funded through the severance tax program, and was very pleased that we were able to pass Senate Bill 259, which invested $10 million in some of the critical programs that you heard about even just here this morning. As you remember, in the governor's first proposed budget in November, he had recommended not just the amount of money that you see for budget balancing purposes in Senate Bill 260, he had actually recommended a transfer during this budget year of $31.7 million and then the $45.7 million in the 17-18 budget. And the reason here is it really has to do with what happened last session when we had 5 days left in the session. And we received the ruling from our Colorado Supreme Court around the BP America case. And so the Budget Committee reacted quickly and swiftly and set aside general fund money to pay for potential refunds as related to the industry, the oil and gas industry in the BP America situation. So the good news is we didn't need to pay as much as we had thought. So one way to think about this bill is we had transferred general fund money to pay for potential refunds and didn't need to pay all of that, and we're transferring it back. So it was general fund, set it over to severance tax, and now we're bringing it back for budget balancing purposes. Another way to think about it is that if we didn't take this budget balancing move, would you have rather that we reduce the senior property tax program? Would you have rather that we increase the negative factor? I mean, our choices are not all very pleasant here, and so we took the one that we thought made the most sense to take back some of the general fund money that we had transferred to severance tax. The magnitude of that transfer could have been $110 million. So today, I know this is difficult. I know it's not a popular bill to be carrying, and my name is on it, and I ask for your support of Senate Bill 260.
Further discussion? Seeing none. The question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 260 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. The machine is closed. With 34 yes votes, 31 no votes, Senate Bill 260 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1257.
House Bill 1257, Representative Arnold, Senator Tate, concerning the scheduled appeal of reports by the Department of Natural Resources to the General Assembly.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1257 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of House Bill 1257 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 64 yes votes, 1 no vote, House Bill 1257 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1273.
House Bill 1273 by Representatives Hanson and McKean, all Senators Quorum and Jones, concerning a requirement that an applicant for a real estate development permit demonstrate water conservation measures that will be implemented in the development.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1273 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of House Bill 1273 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no discussion, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 40 yes votes, 25 no votes, House Bill 1273 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1274.
House Bill 1274 by Representative all Senator Baumgartner, concerning the limited circumstances under which a veterinarian may use a compounded pharmaceutical drug for the treatment of an animal patient that is a food animal.
Assistant Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1274 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of House Bill 1274 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no discussion, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Bridges, please close the machine. With 50 yes votes, 15 no votes, House Bill 1274 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1294.
House Bill 1294 by Representative Weissman, all Senator Todd, concerning counting a high school student who participates in the accelerating students through concurrent enrollment program in the enrolling education entity's high school graduation rate in the school year in which the student completes the high school graduation requirements.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1294 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of House Bill 1294 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no discussion, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Wow. Please close the machine. With 65 yes votes and 0 no votes, House Bill 1294 is passed unanimously. Co-sponsors. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 233.
Senate Bill 233 by Senator Tate, House Representative Martin, concerning the schedule repeal of reports by the Department of Law to the General Assembly.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 233 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is a passage of Senate Bill 233 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no discussion, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 65 yes votes, 0 no votes, Senate Bill 233 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 241.
Senate Bill 241 by Senator Tate, House Representative Hooten, concerning the schedule repeal of reports by the Judicial Department of the General Assembly.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 241 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is a passage of Senate Bill 241 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no discussion, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 65 yes votes, 0 no votes, Senate Bill 241 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1304.
House Bill 1304 by Representative Singer and Ransom, all Senators Smallwood and Cafalas, concerning allowing the adoption of a child under the jurisdiction of a court in Colorado who is not present in Colorado.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1304 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is a passage of House Bill 1304 on third reading and final passage. See no discussion. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 65 yes votes, 0 no votes, House Bill 1304 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 214.
Senate Bill 214 by Senators Smallwood and Garcia, also Representatives Exum and Pedersen, concerning the creation of a voluntary firefighter cancer benefits program.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 214 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is a passage of Senate Bill 214 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no discussion, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Lundin. Please close the machine. With 65 yes votes, 0 no votes, Senate Bill 214 is passed. Co-sponsors. Co-sponsors. Any more co-sponsors? Oh, we're going so high. Can we do it again? Where's the love? Co-sponsors. Oh, come on. All right, all right. Please close the machine. Some resistors. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 234.
Senate Bill 234 by Senator Kerr, also Representative Thurlow, concerning the schedule repeal of reports by the Department of Human Services to the General Assembly.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 234 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is a passage of Senate Bill 234 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no discussion, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Beckman, Representative Humphrey. Please close the machine. With 58 yes votes, 7 no votes, Senate Bill 234 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 246.
Senate Bill 246 by Senator Martinez-Dominic, also Representatives Michelson, Janae, and Singer, concerning modernizing terminology relating to mental health disorders and in connection therewith renaming the Legislative Oversight Committee concerning the treatment of persons with mental illness in the criminal and juvenile justice systems to the Legislative Oversight Committee concerning the treatment of persons with mental health disorders in the criminal and juvenile justice systems and making a corresponding change to the name of the associated task force.
Oh, so close.
Great job still, Mr. Randall. Great job. Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 246 on third reading and final passage.
Question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 246 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no discussion, Mr. Randall, please open the machine. Please close the machine. With 62 yes votes, 3 no votes, Senate Bill 246 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to lay over the balance of the calendar till tomorrow, Tuesday, April 11th.
Seeing no objection, the balance of the calendar will be laid over. So that takes us to announcements and introductions, and I do have one to kick us off. For today only, Representative Singer will replace Representative Danielson on the Agriculture Committee. Further announcements or introductions? Seeing no further, well, maybe there are some, maybe there are, maybe not. Seeing no further announcements or introductions, Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the House stand in recess till 1:30 today.
Seeing no objection, the House will stand in recess until 1:30 p.m. today.
Thank you.